good. All right. Maybe not. Okay. I met Kristen for the first time at Wilder Park for a Tree Town Get to Know You event. I remember her pushing the stroller with Lainey and marveling at the fact that she was a towhead, even though her mom was a brunette. Not till a couple of years later did I even find out that Lainey was adopted, when I myself was going through the process of adoption. I remember finding out that she lived right around the corner from me and bringing her a welcome to the neighborhood homemade baked good back in the days when I actually baked. Then around the same time, my dad met up with Kristen at Jefferson Park. He had taken my then 2 daughters to the park so I could have a much-needed break, and struck up a conversation with this lovely lady named Kristen, who happened to be married to a former student of his, Dave Elkins. Both Kristen and my dad had a penchant for talking, and they hit it off, sharing stories from Dave's high school days back at Arlington Heights. From then on, we were, quote, cosmically connected, as my dad thought. That was such a coincidence that he would meet up with an Elkin, as he had so many fond memories of both Dave and Rick. We continued to share playdates with our daughters, and then moved on to Jefferson, where our friendship solidified as we created and co-chaired the Welcome to Jefferson Committee, a committee that, as the name infers, reached out to incoming Jefferson parents in hopes of making them feel more connected and a part of the Jefferson community, since we newbies felt rather out of it upon arriving at the kindergarten doors. Little did I know at that time how fitting that committee was for Kristen, as she soon became known within our circles as the consummate hostess, who was always looking for ways to make people feel comfortable at a gathering, paying close attention to the details of making sure everyone had something to drink or eat. Our good friend Dawn Shadwar from Arizona, who visited Kristen in her last days, laughed that even when Kristen could barely get off of the couch, she was still concerned that Dawn had a proper glass filled with ice for her Diet Coke. As mentioned before, Kristen and I shared a passion for adoption, as both of our families were touched by the miracle of adoption, hers through domestic adoption and mine through international. Although our adoptions looked very different, they both showed us, and I quote, a letter from Kristen written to our daughter before she arrived from China. We knew firsthand what a blessing having a child through adoption is. Time passed quickly, and soon our girls were close to finishing their time at Jefferson, and Kristen was diagnosed with cancer. Since we had already worked closely on PTA committees, we decided to share the role of VP-elect, since we didn't know how Kristen's treatments would affect her ability to handle all the details of the job. But as all of you know, Kristen never let her illness get in the way of performing her duties to the best of her abilities, and she continued to serve in her role with administrative skill and grace. Because Kristen lived daily with the gravity of her situation, she quickly made celebrating birthdays an even bigger priority than she already had in the past. Since we both had September birthdays, we would plan a, quote, double birthday celebration every September, always including as many friends as possible. She constantly amazed me at her ability to remember everyone's birthdays and to honor them. This is just one of the many legacies that she has left me. She also would love to take pictures at every gathering that we would have. Again, she had always enjoyed taking photos and then making scrapbooks of them, but after her diagnosis, she never left without a camera to make sure we remembered every event via photos. In addition to capturing special moments, by taking many photos, she always took the time to write personal notes or thank you cards. And in looking back, I can see how she took special care to make those notes count by personalizing them and marking the occasions that were being honored. Again, she taught me the value of taking time to write an old-fashioned letter, a tangible reminder and memento that is even more treasured as our world becomes so digital. I think most of all, Kristen valued her friendships and relationships with family above all else. As I stated before, she was an amazing hostess and delighted in opening her home to invite friends over for coffee, and in the early years that often included our children as well. But Kristen welcomed them every bit as much as she did us. She loved our kids, and in her final days commented on how she had watched our kids grow up. She loved them and they loved her. I know she treasured her relationship with her nieces and nephews and valued the time that she shared with them. She was always talking about them as though we knew them personally. I would always get confused, but through the years, I finally felt I could figure out who was who, and thus felt strangely connected to them too. Kristen had a way of doing that, of bringing people together. I cannot thank her enough for introducing me to some of her friends from Lainey's kindergarten class, who have now become some of my dearest friends as well. One of those friends we shared in common was Dawn, and we both took it hard when she moved to Arizona a couple of years ago. But we vowed that we would visit her during our winters so we could escape the drudgery of sunless days, and so we ventured to Arizona together for the first time in February 2012, and then this past February as well. We shared so many special memories during our visits, and this past visit was especially poignant as it was the beginning of some of Kristen's hardest battles. She actually had to take a bunch of IV bags down with her so she could administer her meds for the first time while visiting Dawn. It was then that I saw firsthand just how much she hid from us in terms of her daily struggles of living with the cancer. I was so amazed at her casual matter-of-factness about getting up in the middle of the night to give herself the anti-nausea and pain meds, not once complaining that she couldn't get a good night's rest. That was also the first time that I witnessed firsthand how her cancer ruined her ability to enjoy eating, as we were out for afternoon tea and she took one bite and had to excuse herself because it didn't sit well with her, and after that she couldn't eat any more food during that meal because it would upset her stomach. But again, Kristen never complained about any of that. She was so selfless that way. She truly puts me to shame when I think of how I would have reacted to similar situations. Lastly, Kristen loved music, and she shared it with me and others at many of the gatherings she would hold in her home. I remember being so impressed by her playlists. This was actually before iTunes became popular, that I asked if she could burn me some CD that I could use when I hosted a party. And so she did. She also made a special friendship CD for Dawn's going away party that I listened to recently, and it was as if she had written those songs as her parting gift to us. They expressed so many emotions, and I found myself belting out the words a few weeks ago, singing my heart out for her as I knew she would not be with us much longer. In keeping with her love for music, a couple of songs came to mind when thinking about writing her tribute. One is Better Than a Hallelujah by Amy Grant, a song that we both loved and one that Sue has included in her slideshow. I had sent her the lyrics to the song during one of her particularly difficult patches, and the words brought comfort to both of us. The chorus goes like this: we pour out our miseries, God just hears the melody. Beautiful the mess we are, the honest cries of breaking hearts are better than a hallelujah sometimes. None of us can understand why God allowed Kristen to suffer from cancer, yet somehow we can find some solace in knowing that even when words fail us, God sees us and hears us and loves us. When thinking about the absolute impossibility of summarizing the life of Kristen, I was also reminded of the lyrics from Seasons of Love from the musical Rent. I'm sure most of you have heard them at one time, but I wanted to share them with you as a reminder of what matters most. And Kristen understood and lived a life that reflected those values. The song says 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. How about love? Measure in love. Kristen's greatest legacy was her love for others. I know I speak for many others when I say that my life was truly blessed because of her friendship and love.